Local, live, late breaking. This is WESH-2 News at 11.
Live breaking news right now. A plane crashes into a local Publix. At least 5 people are hurt. This is a live look at what is still an active scene. The plane has not been removed from the store at this hour. Now, video just into the WESH-2 newsroom shows a thick black cloud billowing from the building just moments after impact into the roof. It happened less than a mile from the DeLand airport. Good evening. I'm Jim Payne.
I'm Martha Sagowski. It was a scary scene, but luckily not a deadly one. We do have team coverage from the ground to the air. Chopper Dan McCarthy and Claire Metz are standing by with live reports, but we start with Todd Wilson live in DeLand on the scene. Todd.
Well, Martha and Jim, I just got the names of the 3 shoppers that were injured in this horrific accident that happened right behind me here. The names are Lisa Cordova, April Morris, they'll be released at any time now, but also Brendan Beitler, he is at ORMC, he is in stable condition. Now, right now, I'm here in a parking lot that is adjacent to the Northgate Shopping Center here. As you can, let me step out of the way so you can see what's going on here. Things have calmed down quite a bit, but that wasn't the case earlier. It was chaotic here. You had firefighters that were running around trying to fight this fire, trying to put it out. You had police officers that were putting up the yellow tape here, and they were telling everyone to step back, just step back. And at that time, I got an opportunity to speak to a man who said he saw the plane coming down.
Like I say, it was coming, and I told my wife, I said, look, they ain't jumping.
Tommy Lee Boother says he was driving down 1792 when he saw a plane going down.
I hit the building because I seen him when I was coming from off of 1792. He was going pretty low.
DeLand police confirm it is a plane that crashed into the roof of the Publix at the Northgate Shopping Center in DeLand. They got the call at 7:20 about the crash. When they got here, black smoke was billowing out of the roof. They immediately began trying to put the fire out. Dozens of engines surrounded the building, all working together to put out the fire within. Authorities say the single-engine experimental plane took off from DeLand Airport. Witnesses say they heard the plane's engine sputter.
I was sitting on my back porch, and I just heard a big explosion. I came out to see what it was and saw the smoke billowing out of the top of Publix.
A total of 5 people are injured. 3 went to ORMC with severe burns, including the pilot and co-pilot. 2 others went to Florida Hospital in DeLand with moderate burns. Now, the NTSB and the FAA have been notified of this incident right here. Also want to let you know that this plane is registered out of Illinois. Right now, we do not know exactly where the pilot is from. Once again, want to set the scene for you here. We've got 5 people injured, 3 severely, including the pilot and the passenger, and we've got 2 people that are moderately burned. Live in DeLand, Todd Wilson, WESH-2 News.
WESH-2's Chopper Dan McCarthy was in the air just after the emergency call went out.
He continues our breaking team coverage with perspective from above. And Dan, looking at the damage, it's amazing everyone made it out alive.
Yeah, Jim, it sure is, especially that time of night at a Publix supermarket. I'm sure there were a lot more people in there. This could have been a much worse story. Right now, we're holding about a half-mile southwest of DeLand Airport. DeLand Airport is what we call an uncontrolled airport, meaning there's no control tower here at this airport. Pilots come and go communicating on a common radio frequency. The pilot of this aircraft, this was some type of ultralight or experimental aircraft amphibian that can land on both land and water, took off from runway 23 to the southwest, and on takeoff had some kind of engine failure, and when it did, it crashed into the Publix supermarket here about a half-mile southwest of the field. As we were flying up here, there were 2 medevac helicopters transporting 2 of the patients to ORMC, and of course throughout the evening, as we have more information on this terrible crash, we'll pass the information on. Reporter for the WESH-2 News Team, Chopper Dan McCarthy, the high-definition Chopper 2. Back to you.
Dan, thanks. You can just imagine the sheer terror for shoppers. Many just off from work when a plane comes crashing through the ceiling.
WESH-2's Claire Metz is talking to one woman who lived through it. Claire joins us live from the scene with first-hand reaction to this crash. Claire.
Martha, unbelievable. Can you imagine if you were inside? I mean, it's chaotic enough under normal circumstances in a grocery store, and suddenly you're in the middle of a disaster. We spoke with one of the women who was inside shopping at that moment. Her story, absolutely amazing.
It was a lot of fire in there.
This 33-year-old woman is still so shaken, she asked us not to identify her. Mandy was in the store, in the checkout line when disaster struck. She got safely out and recorded seconds of thick black smoke from what? She didn't know at that point.
I was putting my food on the conveyor belt, and the lights went out and it shook really bad. And the whole ceiling caved in and a big fireball just exploded. we all ran as fast as we could.
It's unclear how many shoppers and employees were in the store, blessedly fewer than an hour earlier when folks were shopping on their way home. The plane crash led to a massive rescue effort, perhaps the largest in DeLand's history, with nearly every city police and firefighter on hand, county and neighboring agencies helping too. Rod McDonald didn't see the plane, but he knew it was in trouble.
I heard this aircraft go over, and I heard the engine backfire and quit, and I didn't hear the engine recover.
But to be inside during such a freak event, the plane crashed to the back of the store near the meat department. Mandy up front was still way too close for comfort. Did you see this fireball?
Yes, it was really hot. I could feel it. Even in the lines, I could feel it.
Literally, a fireball blowing up through the store, forcing folks out, and thank heaven we only had 5 injuries in all of this, and hopefully everyone will make a full recovery. We understand the pilot was briefly able to talk to investigators before he was rushed to ORMC. All he was able to say, he just didn't know what went wrong. Now, take a look behind me. This strip plaza has other stores beside the Publix, but so far as they can tell, firewalls contain the damage to the Publix store. And again, it appears that the plane went in the middle section of the store, so it doesn't appear any other problems with other stores in the plaza. And as far as we know, all employees, all shoppers accounted for, and that is a really good thing. Reporting live in DeLand, Volusia County, Claire Metz, WESH-2 News.
WESH-2 viewers are sending us remarkable pictures from the crash scene. In this one, you get a good view of the smoke cloud, and yet another photo shows an up-close view just moments after that plane hit. We want to see your photos. Upload them to the ULocal section at WESH.com. You can watch more video and see more pictures on our website. And while you're at WESH.com, sign up for breaking news alerts.
First at 5, a crash, an inferno, and chaos.
Shoppers run for their lives after a small plane spirals out of control and slams right through the roof of a local Publix.
Miraculously, everyone survived. A gaping hole is left in the roof of the store on International Speedway Boulevard. A look from Chopper 2 shows charred wreckage and scorched merchandise.
Breaking tonight, federal investigators have pulled out the engine of that plane and are sifting through the damage, trying to figure out what caused last night's wild crash. Good evening. I'm Jim Payne.
I'm Martha Sagowski. NTSB says there's not much left of the plane. 911 callers knew the gravity of the situation instantly.
Someone's on fire in public, and oh God, I'm so. It's okay. What's on fire? A person. A person? Right. And the building's on fire, too. Okay, get everybody out. Okay, we gotta go.
5 people were injured, the pilot and his passenger, and 3 people in the store. The experimental plane is registered to Illinois attorney Kim Presbury. He suffered 3rd-degree burns. Thomas Rhodes was the other man on board. The store is closed indefinitely as this investigation unfolds.
WESH-2 has team coverage. Chopper Dan McCarthy explains why this was the best possible outcome in a worst-case scenario. Dave McDaniel has stories from witnesses and survivors. But we start with Claire Metz and breaking information from the NTSB. Claire?
Yeah, Jim, we just talked with NTSB investigators, and they really gave us an update about what's going on. Chopper 2 has been above it all this afternoon, so this gives you a real bird's-eye view of the recovery effort. The plane debris that was inside is about 80% out now, leaving just 20% in there, and they believe their salvage effort will be complete today. Then they will take all of this to a facility in Groveland, Florida, where they will try and put it all together, piece it all together, try and figure out what went wrong here. There is not much of this plane left at all. What remains of the aircraft is being pulled out the front door of the store. That's the charred engine attached to the prop. And among the most critical finds of the NTSB's recovery effort, they really only have 3 big pieces to work with.
Pretty much the engine, the propeller, and part of the vertical fin are the largest pieces.
Chopper 2 flew over Publix this morning with a clear view of the cavity created when an experimental plane crashed through layers of roof right into the store. NTSB investigators, hands-on inside, paint another vivid picture.
It's on the ground. It's between 2 aisles. The majority of the wreckage spans across 2 aisles. However, several additional aisles have been compromised by fire.
The The plane was a kit-built experimental. This is an image of a Sea-Wind 3000 intact, owned by prominent Illinois attorney Kim Presbrey. It's unclear if Presbrey was the pilot or his friend Thomas Rhodes, both critically burned. With so little of it remaining, reconstructing this crash will be a puzzle.
It was an extremely hot fire, and that's basically it, just disintegrated.
We don't know how much fuel was aboard. The Sea-Wind holds 110 gallons, but the crash sent a fireball through the store. Thick black smoke enveloped it, as you can see from video sent to us by one of our viewers. The sheriff's helicopter was on scene moments after the crash with stunning images, too. We don't know if the store is jeopardized, but the mess will keep it closed for some time to come.
Looks like a fire. As you can imagine, there's a lot of soot, there's a lot of water on the floor, there's damaged products.
And the pieces of the very damaged plane emerging now. We've learned of the survivors, the pilot and co-pilot. One was commercially rated, one was rated for private planes, so these are experienced men. We also learned they flew into DeLand on Saturday, and they may have been going to Daytona Beach to have their avionics checked, their radios checked. Reporting live in DeLand, Volusia County, Claire Metz, WESH-2 News.
And Claire, did investigators give a timetable on when we could have some definitive answers here?
Well, take a look from Chopper 2 again, Martha, because you can just see how intricate this process is. However, NTSB tells us they may have a preliminary report, a preliminary investigation of what went wrong within 1 to 2 weeks. But as far as a final determination, 6 to 8 months, Martha.
Claire Metz reporting live from DeLand tonight. Thanks, Claire. And for people simply trying to do some evening shopping, the sights and sounds of a plane crashing into the supermarket roof sent shockwaves throughout the store.
WESH 2's Dave McDaniel continues our team coverage with the people who scrambled to get to safety. Dave.
You know, Jim, some of the people described it as a major crash, but some actually said it sounded like more of a thud. But universally, they all said that once they saw the size of the fire, they knew this was a serious issue. You see this, smoke pouring from the gaping hole in the roof. Then you imagine you're Bobby McCormick, a couple of aisles over with his 14-year-old daughter.
Just kind of out of the blue, you hear a loud thud. A plane crashed into it.
The person taking the cell phone video wasn't the only one stunned.
The next thing I know, I just felt like somebody or something had just picked me up off the ground and threw me forward. And I guess that was the explosion.
Lisa Cordova dropped off her child at the YMCA. She thinks she was walking away from the impact zone, but
just hit the ground, hit my shoulder, knocked my head.
Her instincts, fear, and getting out of that store.
Knowing that I needed to get out of there because I didn't know what had happened. I didn't know if something else was going to, I didn't know if there were bombs placed throughout the store. You just don't know.
Stetson student Brendan Beitler posted a very cheery photo of himself from his hospital bed, despite being treated for leg burns.
And we saw the ceiling tiles falling down from about the middle of the store, and some electrical type fire and arcs and flashes in the ceiling. And
McCormick says he didn't know what to make of it at first, but the fire made it clear they had to get out and fast.
The whole entire middle of the store was basically on fire, and it was intense.
You know, some of the folks we talked with today said even though it's been a few hours since all of this went down last evening, they felt they were still kind of in shock today. Jim?
And Dave, did anyone comment about the Publix employees, how they handled it all?
Well, let's pop back up to Chopper 2 in HD, and we'll show you again. Look at the size of the hole in this building and think about how sudden and how violent all this was. And several of the people commented that the Publix employees, despite the suddenness and the violence of all of this, they thought they were extremely professional, clearing people out of the store as soon as possible, and once they got the store cleared, making sure that nobody went back inside. Jim, Martha?
Dave McDaniel live for us in DeLand. Dave, thanks. The plane that crashed is an experimental amphibious aircraft called the Sea-Wind 3000. This is what it looks like. The plane seats 4 people and has a tank that carries 110 gallons of fuel. The experimental aircraft does not have black boxes on board, but investigators will look at its GPS tracker.
WESH 2's Dan McCarthy was flying in Chopper 2 moments after last night's crash. He says everything that could have gone wrong did. I spoke to him this afternoon about what was going through the pilot's mind when things went so wrong.
Well, the pilot was taking off runway 23 at DeLand Airport, and he was taking off to the southwest. And you can see here, a pilot would take off, normally climb out, but this is by far the worst case scenario for a pilot You're low, you're slow, and most likely full of fuel, and now you have an engine failure.
And what are you looking for right now if you're a pilot and you know that you have this catastrophe?
This is exactly what he was looking at. He's at the end of the runway. He's too low, too slow, and in a sense too heavy to turn around and make it back to the airport, which would be the ideal situation. So basically what you're taught is look in front. From 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock out of the windshield, you have about a half-mile glide ratio. And this is what the pilot was looking at. And you can see trees, houses, warehouses, trees over here, a parking lot full of cars and people. But wait a second, what's this? You got a warehouse building here and another building right here, and that's exactly what he was looking at. And the only thing is, I'll be great if I can put it down on that roof and the roof supports the weight of the aircraft.
And clearly that didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
He avoided worst case scenario for the other people on the ground.
Yes, this is a terrible, terrible accident, but this was the best case scenario of a worst case accident.
Late breaking right now at 5:30. The NTSB still on the scene following a terrifying plane crash into land.
Shoppers ran out of the Publix on International Speedway Boulevard last night when an experimental aircraft plummeted through the roof.
Take a look. The crash left this gaping hole. Inside, you can see groceries and debris scattered all over the place. 5 people were injured, but everyone survived.
Tonight, crews are working to get the wreckage out of the store and clean up all the debris.
They're going to take what's left of the plane to a location where they can pour over every inch of the aircraft. WESH 2's Claire Metz joins us live now. And Claire, investigators have a lot of work ahead of them.
They do, Jim, but I'll tell you what, the NTSB is not messing around. They are moving very quickly, very efficiently to get all of the debris out of the Publix behind me and into that facility in Groveland so they can start piecing this together. Take a look at some of the images we shot just a short while ago as portions of the plane were coming out. Only 3 big pieces are still intact, including the engine with the prop attached to it. We also understand the propellers in good shape, the tail of that experimental plane also in decent shape. About 80% has been pulled out so far, but it's that last 20% that's going to be a bugger because so much of it is just tiny, small debris, fine dust. They have to wear respiratory masks and hard hats when they're in there. Listen to the NTSB investigator just moments ago.
And we're digging through the debris for cables for the flight control. We're doing a preliminary cursory look at the engine. There's no obvious external signs of failure on the engine.
No obvious signs, he said. That does not mean the engine didn't fail. That is still to be determined. Chopper 2 was over the grocery store earlier today looking at that 20 by 30 crevice in the roof. Unbelievable. You can see clear through to the bottom with the plane debris and grocery products strewn all around. It may have been because the plane had to go through so many layers of roof that in fact the pilot and co-pilot did survive all this. We understand they're still critical. One of the 2 is a commercially rated pilot. The other is privately rated, both experienced. We just don't know what went wrong. We're hoping NTSB can sort it out. Reporting live in DeLand, Volusia County, Claire Metz, WESH 2 News.
Within minutes of the crash, the 911 call started pouring in. WESH 2's Ike Diaz reports many people knew exactly what happened.
911, where's your emergency? Hi, I think a plane just crashed in the Publix in DeLand.
Seconds after a small plane crashed into this DeLand Publix, the 911 calls started coming in.
Hello, this is 911.
Everybody out of there.
Hello?
Hey, a plane just crashed into the roof of Publix on Woodland.
Which Publix and Woodland?
It's on fire. It went through the roof into the Publix.
One man was so upset he could barely get his words out.
Oh my God, an airplane just went into the Publix. I hear the sirens already. Oh my God. Okay, just relax. Just relax. We're on the way, okay?
Another caller reported a person on fire.
911, someone's on fire in Publix. And, oh God, I'm so... It's okay. What's on fire? A person. A person? Right. And the building's on fire, too. Wow. Okay, get everybody out. Okay, we gotta go.
One woman described the plane as it went down.
I'm sitting here in the Lowe's parking lot, and the engine sounded like it was, like sputtering.
Okay.
And the next thing you know, he went down nose first.
Okay, did you see any flame explosion?
Oh, yes, black smoke all over the place.
You can listen to all of the 911 calls right now on our website, WESH.com. In the newsroom, Ike Diaz, WESH 2 News.